Happy Sabbath! Hi everyone, and thank you for coming back to visit my channel. So glad you guys can join me again. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about Genesis chapter 4. So let's get right into it. And the last video we left off at Genesis chapter 3. And just a recap is Adam and Eve got kicked out of the Garden of Eden because of doing the first sin recorded ever. So basically, that first sin prompted the curse on all mankind, which is women will be having a really difficult time during childbirth, and our children and our family members will have issues. They'll be arguing, will be not getting along all the time, and making your relationships a little bit more difficult because of this act. Cain murders Abel. So I'm going to be reading to you from the Bible app, YouVersion, and I like to read from the Common English version of the Bible. It's how we talk. It's much more easy to follow than the old King James version. Adam and Eve had a son. Then Eve said, "I'll name him Cain because I got him with the help of the Lord." Later, she had another son named Abel. Abel became a sheep farmer, but Cain farmed the land. One day, Cain gave part of his harvest to the Lord, and Abel also gave an offering to the Lord. He killed a firstborn lamb from one of his sheep and gave the Lord the best parts of it. The Lord was pleased with Abel and his offering, but not with Cain. And his offering was basically just not the best part of his grain, or maybe was like half of it, of his first harvest. So, the Lord was kind of annoyed that he kind of like half did it. This made Cain angry, so angry that he could not hide his feelings. So he must have been like freaking out and just like, saying all kinds of horrible things and just, angry. The Lord said to Cain, "What's wrong with you? Why do you look so angry? If you have done the right thing, you'd be smiling, but you did the wrong thing, and now sin is waiting to attack you like a lion. Sin wants to destroy you, but don't let it." So basically, the Lord is trying to explain to him, like, if you did the right thing, you wouldn't be angry. Just like when you have kids, you tell them to do something and they don't do a good job, or they're lazy about it, and then you're telling them, okay, well, this is, you're wrong and you're not supposed to do it this way. And then they get angry because you don't accept their horrible job. And it's just right again showing you parenting and how God is our parent and how he expects us to do a certain thing, and if we don't do it 100%, there's consequences to be had. Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go for a walk." And when they were out in the field, Cain attacked and killed him. Afterwards, the Lord asked Cain, "Where is Abel?" "How should I know?" he answered. "Am I supposed to look after my brother?" Oh my gosh, that is like the sentence that every sibling says one time or another. Am I supposed to look after him? Or, why do I have to be, am I in charge of him? Like, and most of the time parents do that. Like, you are in charge of this person. You have to watch your brother. And, and if you don't say that, you say, "Why is your sibling doing that?" They're like, "I don't know. Do I have to, keep an eye on him or something?" So, all the way from the beginning, the same reactions to authority, the same reactions to, not being accountable for your actions. Let's continue. Okay. The Lord said, "Why have you done this terrible thing? You killed your own brother, and his blood flowed onto the ground. Now his blood is calling out for me to punish you. And so I'll put you under a curse, another curse. Because you killed Abel and made his blood run out on the ground, you will never be able to farm it again. When you try to farm the land, it won't produce anything for you. From now on, you'll be without a home, and you'll spend the rest of your life wandering from place to place." "This punishment is too hard," Cain said. "You're making me leave my home and live far from you. I will have to wander without a home, and just anyone could kill me." Okay, we'll stop there. Just anyone could kill me. Last time we were reading, wasn't the last people we've talked about Adam, Eve, now Cain and Abel? These are the new two additions. So why on earth would he be afraid that someone else is going to kill him? There isn't anybody else. What is he talking about? And this makes us go back to our last discussion in Genesis 1. If you can go back to verse 27, it says, so God created humans to be like himself. He made men and women. God gave them his blessing and said, have a lot of children and fill the earth. That was day 6. Day 7, God rested. Then we go into the Garden of Eden, the next chapter. And then God talks about this garden where everything is filled with it. Fruits, food, plants, flowers, everything. We've talked about that. And if you haven't, then you must go back to my last video. It is called The Snake, the Creator, and the Garden. And it explains in detail what I'm talking about now. But when he talks about the Garden of Eden, he talks about gathering dirt and forming Adam and putting his breath of life into Adam. And then it talks about him taking a rib from Adam to make Eve, the woman. So basically, God created humans and they were having children and multiplying. But for the Garden of Eden, he specifically made this Garden of Eden for Adam and Eve to be in. No one else, just Adam and Eve. They were special. He had made and created the other humans, but he intricately designed and put emphasis in Adam and Eve. He made them specially. These were the special ones, and kept them away from everyone in this garden. That's what it's saying. And you must go back and read it and see for yourself. And because I remember reading it and I wondered, why do they talk about the creation of humans? And you're thinking, oh, it's just Adam and Eve. But then why after that, in the 7th day, he rested? Then we talk about the Garden of Eden. Why is it talking about forming humans again? Like, why would you repeat yourself? Because you're doing it again. You're going back and you're showing exactly what you did specially for these two people, Adam and Eve. So now we fast forward to Cain and him knowing that there's other people out there and not wanting to be around them, because if you're like the chosen ones or the special ones that God's kept away from the rest, there's definitely going to be, if Cain is jealous of his brother, they're going to be jealous, because it's like, God has made you guys special, more special than us. He's with you guys. When they see Cain, they're going to be like, where are you? Why do you look better than us? Why do you talk different than us? Like, why are you so special? And jealousy will come, and he's afraid that they will take it out on him, just like he took it out on his brother. So then we go on to where we left off. And the Lord said, anyone who kills you will be punished 7 times worse than I am punishing you. So the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn everyone not to kill him. Obviously, there's other people on the earth at this time where we're talking about. We just didn't know how they got there. God talks about creating humans 2 different times. Humans in general, and then specifically making Adam and Eve. Isn't that cool? We always think that it's just Adam and Eve were just the only 2 on the earth in the beginning, and then they had all the kids that made the rest of the people. Adam and Eve had a special lineage that God wanted to set apart from the rest, and the rest of the humans were just fillers or just populations. God loved them, but Adam and Eve were a special lineage that would they are the basic the story of the Bible, their lineage, Adam and Eve. So we focus on them and how special they are. Next chapter. More and more people. Later, Cain and his wife had a son named Enoch. At the time, Cain was building a town, and so he named it Enoch after his son. Then Enoch had a son named Irad, and had a son named Methuselah. I am probably wrong. If you have a better way to pronounce it, please let me know. Methuselah had a son named Lamech. Lamech married Ada, then Zillah. Lamech and Ada had 2 sons, Jubal and Jubal. Their son Jubal was the first to live in tents and raise sheep and goats. Jubal was the first to play harps and flutes. Interesting. This is where all these things come from. He was the first to make a harp or play a flute. Very cool. Lamech and Zillah had a son named Tubal Cain, who made tools out of bronze and iron. They also had a daughter whose name was Naamah. One day Lamech said to his two wives, "A young man wounded me, and I killed him. Anyone who tries to get even with me will be punished 10 times more than anyone who tries to get even with Cain." Adam and his wife had another son. They named him Seth because they said, "God has given us a son to take the place of Abel, who was killed by his brother Cain." Later Seth had a son and named him Enosh. And about this time, people started worshiping the Lord. When we go back to Lamech talking about the man that wounded him and talking about that anyone who tries to get even with me will be punished 10 times more than anyone who tries to get even with Cain. So I'm sensing that in their land, that they're banished from their land, they are not liked very much, obviously, and because of probably jealousy. So now Cain has the mark on him that no one is to try to get even with him or try to kill him, but maybe not so much with his children. Maybe they felt like it was free game with Cain's children. But now Lamech is saying that it got to the point where someone wounded him and he had to kill them. So he's saying that anyone who tries to get even with me, like they would try to get even with Cain, will be punished more than, they'd be punished with Cain. So I don't know what that punishment was. You don't say it, but that's what I'm sensing. That it was hard for them. They didn't fit in, and they weren't liked very much. That Cain's family or Cain's tribe. Also, I kind of went by that pretty quick. Let's see, verse 16. But Cain had to go far from the Lord and live in the land of the wandering. And in the King James Version, it's the land of Nod. Interesting, because we hear that in stories, little children's stories about the land of Nod, not knowing that it comes exactly from the Bible, that there was actually a place called the land of Nod where things were pretty sketchy and God wasn't really with them. And who knows what went on with these people. So now we get into chapter 5, the descendants of Adam. So here it gets a little tricky with the wording. In the Common English Version, this is what it reads. God created men and women to be like himself. He gave them his blessing and called them human beings. The following is a list of the descendants of Adam, the first man. So basically, that definitely contradicts like what I was saying about how he made the other humans first and then after the seventh day made Adam and Eve. But in the King James Version, the version that we all know, it says, "This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created." So it basically is implying that all of the men were called Adam. But God definitely talks about the two special ones in Eden, the Garden of Eden, named Adam and Eve. But maybe it is also generalized that basically all men at that time were named Adam because they weren't given names or whatever the reason. But it definitely states that Adam was plural. So if you guys have more insight on that or wanted to add something or disagree with what I'm saying or agree, please leave a comment and we can discuss it. And I'm always willing to learn more, understand more better, or it does not really understand better. But at first, it definitely makes it seem like the first man. But in here, it's talking about Adam in plural, atoms, basically. So, and then once again, we might not be able to understand everything, and the point is that we talk mainly about Adam and Eve, and that's what's most important. So, let's just continue. When Adam was 130, he had a son who was just like him, and he named him Seth. Adam had more children and died at the age of 930. When Seth was 105, he had a son named Enosh. Seth had more children and died at the age of 912. So I'm going to stop there. I was trying to figure out if I should even read this because there's a bunch of numbers and names, and it's great. We know that they lived very long back then. And if you didn't know, now you know. That is a long time. That time is ridiculous. And I wanted to definitely stress that and just move on. But I just want you guys, if you're not going to read it, I want you guys to at least hear it. And also, we can break down, we can even do it now. But I think it's really important to hear the names and to see the ages, because as you read it, it came to my mind that this much time was going on. 5,820 years before we get to talk about the story of Noah. And the fact that there's a lot of these people were living 900 and something years. Like the oldest person was Methuselah. He lived the longest, according to this chapter, 969 years he lived. We all think about the slaves and slavery, 400 years of slavery. We believe that was so long, it boggles our mind. But just think, back in the old days, they lived that and double that, more than double that. So we have to understand that God's timing is not our time at all. Like, he lets things simmer. Hey, baby. So the average person in this chapter that lived was about 646 years. The reason why it's so low is, let's read it and let's see why. Okay, so then Enosh was 90 when he had a son named Kenan. Enosh had more children and died at the age of 905. When Kenan was 70, he had a son named Mahalalel. Kenan had more children and died at the age of 910. When Mahalalel was 65, he had a son named Jared. Mahalalel had more children and died at the age of 895. When Jared was 106, he had a son named Enoch. Jared had more children and died at the age of 962. When Enoch was 65, he had a son named Methuselah. And during the next 300 years, he had more children. Enoch truly loved God, and God took him away at the age of 365. So Enoch didn't die, God just took him. And wouldn't it be great to know about Enoch's relationship with God? They don't tell us in the Bible why God took him up. And some feel like it's not important, but I don't know if you guys know, and some of you might know, but there are books of the Bible that were taken out. And at this time, I don't know exactly why they were taken out, but I read a little bit of Enoch, not all of it, and I'm planning on finishing reading it. But after reading it, I can understand why some religious leaders wouldn't want the masses to read this book unless you were a little bit more grounded and had a really strong relationship with God. So if you feel like it, go and check it out. But if you don't feel like you're ready for it and you just want to get through the rest of it, totally understandable. Enoch was carried up by God and didn't die, and it talks about him definitely in that hidden book. So let's see. If anyone reads Enoch and wants me to do a video about that, just definitely leave a comment and I will totally do it. It'll be great. I just wanted to focus on what everyone knows and has already heard about and is familiar with. Let me know and I would love to do a video. So when Methuselah was 187, he had a son named Lamech, another Lamech, part 2. And then Enoch too, remember that was Cain named his children Enoch and Lamech. But then they move on from Cain and talk about Adam and Eve. So these are Cain's brother and sisters, not his sons. So the Enoch that God took away was Cain's brother. And Lamech was his brother, what we're talking about now. Methuselah had more children and died at the age of 969, living the longest out of this bunch. Then Lamech was 182. He had a son. Lamech said, I'll name him Noah because he will give us comfort. As we struggle hard to make a living on this land that the Lord has put under a curse, Lamech had more children and died at the age of 777. So that's what brings the average down for the average lifespan for that chapter, because Enoch was 365 when God took him up, and Lamech was 777. So most of them lived between like 900 years and 800 years, which is close to 1,000 years. I mean, that is, none of us seen that time. So they lived very, very long. These people were ancient. I don't think that's a good word to explain how ancient they were. Like, that is incredibly, insanely old. We complain, we're getting old, like, oh, I'm 50, I'm old. No, we were little children compared to how long they lived. So it just gives you some really good perspective. So Noah, we all know that name Noah. We all know about Noah and the ark, and that's what we're going to get into next. After Noah was 500 years old, he had 3 sons and named them Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That was his name. The Lord will send a flood. More and more people were born until they finally spread over all of earth. Some of their daughters were so beautiful that supernatural beings came down and married the ones they wanted. Then the Lord said, I won't let my life-giving breath remain in anyone forever. No one will live for more than 120 years. Okay, we're already stopped there because I really felt like this, for example, is when it gets really hard to take in. Because I think the churches, they don't, maybe your church did, but I've been to many churches and no one stresses this point. They don't talk about it. They quickly glass over it and move on to building of the ark. And
okay. Here.
Say hi, buddy.
Hi, Ma.
So we're actually going to leave this video with a little cliffhanger because we got interrupted by this cutie pie here. So we will pick up again on the next video. Please be sure to find it. And we'll talk about in depth about Noah and why God decided that he wanted to flood the earth. It really gets good. So please join me next time. Say bye.
Bye. Bye.